Hello, everyone. Welcome to Artistically Married, where art and opportunity collide. We're your hosts, Jake Ackerman
and Brianne Steinberg. Yeah, and today we have our a very, very dear friend of mine, Matt Bonanno. We've been friends since our 20s, and he is the founder of Iron Will Raw Dog Food here in Niagara Falls. I saw on your website that you're actually technically based out of St. Catharines. I was like, I think this is being a trader.
Yes, growing up in the Falls, it felt a little weird, having a business in St. Catharines. But I mean, technically, I started the business in Welland.
Oh.
And I moved.
It's even worse.
Yeah, I know.
We want you for Niagara Falls.
Just couldn't make it happen. I tried.
Yeah?
I tried.
As we found out, they just don't have the buildings, right?
I know. Yeah. They lack a lot of infrastructure here in Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Cool. So give us a little background on yourself and then kind of how you ended up starting and founding Iron Will.
Yeah. So grew up in Niagara Falls, went to school here. Kind of as, just getting to my adult years, I had moved out of the Falls and took on some different hobbies. And I started training dogs for, it was like a 3-phase sport. It was called, at the time it was called Schutzen. They've changed the name of it a few different times. And it was a sport where you had 3 legs and three disciplines. It was a tracking, obedience, and protection. So I'd taken that sport up because I had a boxer who was a very active dog, and I was a very active guy at the time. So I started, looking into different things to do with him. I came across this club, I joined, and a lot of the members at the time were actually buying their own meat, grinding it, and feeding this to their sport dogs at the time. So, as I was becoming a new pet parent, I was, doing a lot of research. I'd come across raw and bought some commercial diets, actually here locally at the Global Pet Foods. And so, as time went on, I started kind of developing my own little recipes and stuff with people that I was in the club with. And that kind of just turned a little bit more into a passion. I had some friends, we would constantly get together and do this, every month or so for our dogs, and then just load up the freezer. And then ultimately a friend of mine that I was doing that with had a few clients. She was moving out to Alberta. And so she kind of propositioned me and said, hey, listen, would you be interested in taking on these friends and family, these few clients that I have and keeping this going. At the time I was working as a carpenter. I was in the Carpenters Union, Local 18. And I thought, hey, what the hell, why not? Like, let's make a little extra cash on the weekend. That's not going to hurt. Yeah. Not knowing that the day that I decided to say yes to this and buy a house in Welland, I was going to get laid off. So literally the day, it was actually that morning. So took I think on my 10-minute break, my mortgage guy called and said, hey, yeah, you're approved, you're good to go. Her and I had been putting together a little bit of an agreement to say, hey, you're gonna get some equipment with the deal, you're gonna get these clients, et cetera, et cetera. So we had an agreement going.
That's why you were buying the house?
That's why I was buying the house. Yeah, to do it out of the house. Yeah, because that's where she was at the time.
Gotcha.
And so it just made sense. I didn't have a house at the time.
Right.
And so it just kind of worked out.
Oh my gosh.
And so literally on break, I got the call, good, you're approved. And then literally on my lunch break, my...
Come on. This could not be a real story.
No joke. Yeah. So, so that job it was coming to an end, which, I mean, I kind of knew was the case, but I figured there was another job,
as a carpenter union, you could just go to another job.
Exactly.
But still.
But, at that time, there wasn't anything, on the list. Right. So, so it was kind of crazy. So, I ended up moving back to the Falls before that happened, and kind of got myself situated. And then I was on the list, ready to go back to work at any time, but that call never came. So, it was kind of all right, let's do this. I got to make some money. I got mortgage to pay, bills to pay. So let's start selling some dog food, which
let's start selling some dog food.
At the time, I mean, I had lots of friends, and, I was in that kind of dog sport world. So I had lots of people. I had a perfect audience of people that I could say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. Would you be interested in, trying something?
Yeah, it was so organic.
People, and at the time, Raw was still kind of a new concept. Like obviously it was out there and had been out there for a while, but it wasn't like it is today, where you can almost walk into any a Pet Value, a Global Pet Foods, Wren's made massive investments over the years in freezers. So now it's something that you're not going to walk into a store 9 times out of 10 and not find a freezer.
Yeah.
But back in the day,
Isn't that wild that like we ended up going, because I would assume, I don't know, like take me back to like the 30s or 40s when you started using like hunting dogs. Like I'm sure that they were just feeding them table scraps, right?
Yeah.
Like it makes sense that you would be feeding them like raw or real meat. Like maybe it's cooked meat because it's your like table scraps. But how did we get from that to feeding them cereal? And then back again.
Yeah.
Right? Like how did that like evolution happen? That's wild.
There's another entrepreneur that...
It was like the unhealthy entrepreneur that's like, oh, I know what we can do.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was just shortly after the war, if I'm not mistaken. Like, if you look back,
making the cereal, like the kibble or whatever it is,
and putting it into. I'm trying to remember the original name of it. I should probably know this as a pet food entrepreneur, but
the original cereal,
Kibbles
and Bits. I kind of remember Kibbles and Bits from being a kid. Yeah, so that's wild that it kind of like fell into your lap like that. That's so awesome. I do remember, we ran into each other at some point, and I remember like we went for a drink and you kind of like being amped on it, like that you were just like coming into this. It's so wild.
Yeah, I mean, it was super exciting. At that time, I'd tried a few different things. I sold cars here in Niagara Falls at a Toyota dealership. I had worked in sales for electronics. I was in the carpentry side of things.
So you did always kind of have that like entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, even back in high school, I was a bit of an entrepreneur, but we can't really talk about that on the record.
That's how we all got our break, bud.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, so it just kind of fell, but I made something of it, obviously.
Yeah. How did you, I mean, you kind of like grazed over this, but how did you like figure out what like those recipes looked like and like what kind of like needed to be in the nutrition for a dog? Like that seems like just crazy research based that like you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah. Well, and over the years that changed. Back in the day, you kind of had, what, and it even still is referred to as like the barf, some people call it like bones and raw food.
They call it barf.
Barf, yeah, wow, was kind of the acronym for
great
it.
Name. Yeah, great name for it.
And so
it's probably what it looks like.
Yeah, pretty much. People would, there were some vets, like holistic vets or more, raw feeding focused vets that had come up with kind of an outline of what a raw food diet should look like, 80% meat, 10% bone, 10% organs, etc. So, knowing that and doing the research and understanding, what parts and pieces you kind of needed to do, because again, I was doing it on my own.
Yeah.
Once I kind of knew the foundation of what that needed to look like.
Right.
I don't want to say it was easy to put something together, but I understood what the foundation needed to be.
Right.
And so over time, as, I gained more and more traction and more customers, more research was coming out. I was able to do stuff like nutritional analysis and, really understand what the composition of the food was with the ingredients that I was using at the time.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, because I'm sure like when you're getting really in depth like that, like people want to know, right? Like they want their ingredients list and they want to know like how many. I think it's just as important as us. Like we need to know how many calories we're getting. We need to know our macro or micronutrients, right? Like technically.
Absolutely. The whole raw food movement and kind of the humanization of pets comes really from us as humans being more interested in what our diets are, right?
Right.
The cleaner the people have been eating, and over the last 10, 15 years, the more people have been interested in what's actually going on in their pet's bowl, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
That's even before that, like humans really weren't into nutrition, and all of a sudden we're into it. We're like, what about my dog?
Yeah. No, it's...
What about my fish?
Yeah, I don't know if it's gone that far yet, but hey,
I know.
I mean, I didn't get there, and maybe it is there.
Oh my God, it's hilarious.
But yeah,
Untapped market.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's fix
Get
up
on the fish food.
Get on the fish food. Let's see. Let's make your fish optimal.
Some kelp and alfalfa.
So yeah, you kind of were talking about, getting into like your clientele and like having a couple clients given to you. But yeah, what are some of the big challenges that you faced starting a pet food company and then kind of, going through owning one? Because I'm sure it started with some challenges and then really got exacerbated when you get to like like you were saying, the retailers and the giant clienteles and, things like that.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest challenge was I didn't know anything. I was a 25-year-old kid, swinging around a hammer at the time.
Right.
Business was not, in the blood, right?
Yeah, I was trying to remember because I met your dad a bunch of times. I was trying to remember, was he an entrepreneur? I thought he was.
I think with some family friends, he had a tanning salon back in the day.
Right.
Yeah,
I knew.
Yeah.
I was like, I swear he had his own business. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was really just having to figure everything out on my own.
Yeah.
I didn't know the pet industry. It wasn't something that, I had conceptualized, and, I didn't have, all the, the whys of why I wanted to start this business. It was something that, I was very passionate about. There was no doubt. I mean, everything at the time was, for me, surrounded around dogs and dog training and obviously dog nutrition, but it wasn't like, hey, I see this great void in a market and, I can add value there. It was just, this is kind of what fell on me. And, I think there's some beauty in that, in the sense that, when you kind of have to make, lemonade out of lemons, you figure out how to make it happen. Yeah. Right.
Make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And, I had friends that were business owners, so I had some great mentors, and, over the, the different jobs and stuff that I had, I was able to just watch carefully and, see how they made different business decisions, see the things that they were focusing on and, not necessarily focusing on. And so I think I just took some inspiration from that, but, ultimately, starting, making my own recipes, knocking on doors of retailers at one point, creating my own website, creating my own social media. At one point I said, hey, okay, I got to have a logo now, right? So what's my logo going to look like?
Yeah.
So, understanding the marketing aspect, and then, as the company grows and we start moving forward, then it's like, hey, you got to understand the real estate aspect, because now I need a facility. I can't do this in my basement anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was just so many pieces that I had to learn. And I mean, there was pieces of my past, which, the carpentry thing came in handy at one point, because, I didn't have the cash to build a freezer in the one facility that we had at the time.
Right.
And so, I went out, found some, panels that, you would use to build a freezer, and basically used my good old carpentry skills and built myself a freezer.
Crank up the AC.
Well, hey, listen, I was able to get myself some compressors and evaporators and stuff. So I was able to get all the stuff that I needed. I called in some refrigeration guys. They hooked it up.
Amazing.
I mean, we jerry-rigged the hell out of it. It certainly wasn't the prettiest thing, but hey,
did the job.
It kept product frozen, and, we were able to ship orders. And, at that point it was like, do anything you possibly can. I still actually have pictures of working out of my basement. The picture is of me standing at the outside of the garage, looking in, taking the picture, and literally all the freezers full. It was, I think, middle of January or something, product on the floor, product on top of freezers, thank God, for Canadian winters, right?
Yeah.
Right. Especially 10 years ago when it was cold as hell.
Yeah.
So that was my life, loading up my Subaru hatchback to throw product in there overnight so that, I had somewhere to put it and I could go deliver it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So wild.
Yeah. The stories are are
endless.
Yeah. Endless. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, and I think it is. You're right. Like the reality is when you're starting a business from scratch is that every day is a challenge. Every day you wake up with like a new thing that you don't know how to do. And I think it's so true. I'm doing the same steps now. I'm just like every day I wake up and the challenge is really just myself. It's against myself. It's against myself to do better and more and figure it out. And like those learning moments, you're right, are like the best. I think you touched on mentorship, and like it comes back to this. Anytime we talk about opportunity, the opportunity side of like art or business or whatever, is like having these mentorships. And specifically you said that, you look up to your mentors for what to do and what not to do. And I think that has been like a huge challenge and lesson for me, specifically stepping into like a CEO role, because you're used to doing that. You're used to shoving the hatchback full of product and driving it around. So to be able to like walk the steps every day of like getting, we got to get up here. Now I got to get up here. So I think it's really interesting that, your mentors are really great at teaching you where to put your energy and where to stop putting your energy, right? It's hard to do that. It's hard to stop doing the ground floor work.
Yes. Because
you're used to it.
Yeah.
And you do it, and then you have to walk away from it.
Well, and I think any business mentor, especially if it's somebody that's like a business coach or somebody that you go to, or nowadays content with different, entrepreneurs out there, they all tell you to, you can't be working in the business. You have to be working on the business, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how many times over the years I've heard that comment.
Every single day, my coaches tell me that.
You almost want to say it's that stupid fucking comment again,
You're like, I already know.
It's so true. And then, you at times you do well getting yourself out of that flow, right?
Yeah.
But then, certain things happen, certain things change, you lose an employee, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And now you're right back in there.
Right.
Right. So,
yeah.
And then it's just being mindful of that and knowing like, okay, no, I'm back in doing something that I shouldn't be doing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm doing this $10 task.
Sometimes it's fun because it's like resilient. You're reminded of your resilience, and you're like, remember when I was super scrappy and I was 20 and I had to use my carpenter skills to build a freezer? Like it's a little bit exciting, right? To get back on the ground floor, get your hands dirty.
Yeah. And I enjoyed that. Like, building something from scratch, like, at no point, can anybody take away the understanding of the business from you. Or at least for myself, I've basically developed, of course the recipes, but I developed all the processes. I, drove the truck, delivered the product. I went and picked up raw materials at, 3:00 in the morning so that I could get back to produce this at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and
totally
get rid of traffic or get past heavy traffic, right?
Yeah. Do you put that in your systems? It has to be at 3 a.m. so that you're going to skip traffic.
I mean,
I'm not paying you to sit in traffic, buddy.
Luckily now we order so much that they
deliver
it to you.
Yes. So scalability.
Good old scale, yeah.
Good old scale.
But like once you know every aspect of your business, sometimes it does make it hard to take your hands out. But I'd said this in many meetings, even with my team, like I also enjoyed at times as we were growing and I was bringing on different team members, not being, the person that knew everything in the room, like, being okay to like sit back and go, okay, like, hey, I hired you for HR. Like, you tell me, right?
Yeah.
Like, what should we be doing in this case?
Yeah.
Right. And kind of listening and then, kind of formulating your own, opinion or idea and then, moving things forward from there with the feedback that you get, from your team. Right. So,
yeah.
But over time you realize that you're not, if I wanted to take this from my basement to where it is today, I mean, me doing all of the stuff wasn't going to get us there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, having that, like, I mean, we had years of like 100% plus growth for like multiple years in a row. So,
oh my God.
Like when you're dealing with that, like you're almost forced into not doing it all yourself.
Yeah.
Like, because
you're like,
there's just not enough time
we only
in the
have
day.
24 hours.
Yeah.
This has to get done.
So
Who can I get?
You. Yeah. I mean, I had my dad in, you know, especially in the beginning, like, you know, cutting tripe and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, I had my aunt, my cousins, my, you know, buddy over here and this person over there. Like, I mean, anybody I could at the time to get in and just be a pair of hands.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, I would have never been able to get orders out the door if I didn't.
Yeah, tap into your networking, right? And then once you make your first hire and you're like, I think too, I didn't even think about this until, you know, 6 months into like hiring and training some of my staff members, that I was like, I was being so selfish, you know, I was like keeping this business all for myself, and I had to be like the be all end all. I had to be, you know, essentially be the bottleneck, which like you learn later on in your like running journey or business owning journey, that you're like, oh my God, I was like, if anything was being halted, it was me. I was the one, because everything had to go through me, right? And now that I've like pushed it away and said, like, talk to that guy, two things happen. One, obviously everything gets done faster because it doesn't have to go through you. But I think more importantly, now I'm seeing these like staff members light up and they're empowered and they feel like, you know, I've given them a position in my corporation that are making them feel so good about themselves.
Well, they're doing meaningful work.
Exactly. Yeah. You're giving them a position where they like feel really good about themselves. So I think that's really special too. And until you take on a team and you're just trying to get your family members, poor Jacob, all the things he had to do for the business, like even just being like a, you know, like a lot of times as the CEO, like when you sit around that table and you're having a team meeting, you need to get ideas out of your head too, right? And like that was, you know, tends to be your family members and your friends, like they don't want to hear it. And they probably don't even have good information back. Like your HR guy does. That's his job, to collect numbers and collect resources and surveys, right? Talking to your husband about it, like, hey, what do you think of this tutu? He's like, I don't care.
Yeah, no, I 100%. You know, there's many times that, you know, you're going down a path, you know, you can tell that, hey, this is the right path, but there's some nuance to it. I have to figure out, you know, maybe the next 3 steps. You know, and you want to throw ideas, you know, out to a sounding board. And, you know, at the time, if you don't have, you know, staff or whatever the case may be, or say a mentor there that you can talk to, it ends up being your family and friends. And sometimes it's hard because, you know, you want to do that. You want to hear their opinions, but then a lot of times too, like you kind of have to filter that information, you know, and you have to kind of understand where it's coming from. You know, there's not always 100% context, right, from their end. Like they don't know all the nuance.
They're not in the market. They're not in the industry. They don't know. Maybe they don't even have a dog.
Right. So, so over the years, I had many times where you're going, okay, like I'm going to throw it out there. We're going to have the conversation. I'm going to take, you know, bits and pieces. I'm going to filter out the rest. And, you know, sometimes you turn around and you go, maybe I should have listened to that person. But you know, at the time you didn't, and you made a decision. You got to live with the consequences, or you go, hey, I'm actually glad I didn't listen to that person. I'm glad that they gave me that idea, but I went a different way with it. Maybe you just tweaked it by a couple different decisions, but you know, in the end, there was a lot of that for me in the beginning. Right?
It was like, what do you think about this? And you're like, never mind. I don't want your opinion anyways.
I mean, I do.
I know.
But yeah, because it's the brainstorming, right?
Yeah. And you're right. Like it's, you know, a lot of times they're not in the industry. So they, you know, they're just answering on, you're right. It could go either way. Sometimes I've gotten like great information from, you know, my friends and family. And sometimes I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, but maybe you just need that response, right? You just need that. Is there any point that you wanted to give up? Oof.
Oh,
you're like every single day.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, some days, you know, at times it was a weekly, maybe like honestly, even a daily occurrence at some points where you're just like,
I'm overwhelmed.
Give me a fucking match and light her up, you know?
Yes.
But I mean, that's business, I guess, right? Like, you know, over the years, I just realized like, you know, being in business for yourself, it's going to test your patience. It's going to test, you know, your mental strength, your determination, like your willpower to, you know, be able to get over stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
I was told no so many times,
Right?
you know, in the beginning. Like I literally still to this day can remember standing in my driveway on the phone in a bloody fucking apron, talking to a leasing company. I was trying to, you know, get a new grinder, you know, with more capacity. And they're just like, hey, you haven't been in business long enough. Like, I don't even know why you're calling us, asking us for money. Right. And I'm like, well, listen, I know I can get more business if I can,
this.
Yeah, get this equipment. Right.
Yeah.
And, so it was just, you know, between knocking on retailers' doors, you know, knocking on suppliers' doors, and they're kind of like, huh? Who are you? Like, what do you do?
Yeah,
oh,
what do you
grind
do?
dog food. Oh, you want me to deliver this to your house? Like, who the hell are you and what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
And certain guys didn't want to deal with me because of that. But yeah, I mean, at some point, like, you know, I kind of said, like, no one's going to tell me no. Like, I'm going to make this happen. And it's kind of what had to happen, right?
Yeah.
If I was going to move on, because, you know, you get to a point where there's no turning back. You know, you've kind of dove in so
You're
far
all
that
in.
you're kind of all in. Like,
Yeah.
actually be more painful to quit than it is to just get past, you know, the little hurdle, right?
Yeah. And so, like, you know, you always keep looking back at, I'm trying to do this more and more as a business owner, is to be able to look back and kind of see where you've come from. Like, you have to do it. And I'm not, by nature, I'm not that personality.
No,
I'm just
not
like,
good at that either.
I'm hungry. What's in front of me? Where am I going? What's next? Like, what's happening next? You know?
Yeah.
And a lot of business owners are like that. And I think it makes it really hard, because if you don't reflect back of where you've come, you'll just, you know, run yourself into the ground. Like, no one's going to tell me no. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, you know, I've had the question a lot of like, oh, you must be really proud with what you've built. And, you know, sometimes it's actually hard to answer that question, because you're looking forward. You're not really looking back.
Yeah.
Right. You're just like, okay, I got through this week, or I got through this day.
Yeah.
Like, I got to focus on tomorrow, or I got to focus on next week, next month. You know, how am I going to keep the train, you know, on the tracks?
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes it's very difficult to look back.
Yeah. It's true. I never thought of that. Yeah. Like, you really have to look forward, because if you stop, you know, it feels like everything's just going to fall apart. It shouldn't. Obviously, you know, the more you grow your business, it shouldn't feel like that. Did you have times in your business where you could like walk away and go on vacation?
You know what? It didn't really happen until, well, when I met Justine.
She was like,
you're
a
3 years
workaholic.
ago. Yeah. I mean, she was used to going on trips and stuff, and I'd never gone on vacation. I mean, I'd let my passport expire, so I wasn't going anywhere to do anything.
Matt.
You know,
Me too.
it was what, I don't know. At that point, it would have been about the 10-ish year mark. And so I hadn't really gone on a vacation. You know, my vacation was, hey, there's a trade show in Alberta. Like, I get to go fuck around in Alberta for 3 days while I do a trade show, right?
Wow.
Like, that was kind of the, hey, let's like spend some time walking around Alberta.
Oh my God.
You know, like that was it. It was, there was no, hey, I'm going down, you know, to
going to Florida
Mexico
for the week.
Florida,
Going to Mexico for the
hang
week.
out. No, it's just like, that just wasn't going to happen.
Did it feel like you couldn't do that?
I mean, hey, yes and no. I mean, I was in it. There was a lot of stuff happening, you know, like, I mean, by 2018, we were in our 4th facility.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, between the growth, getting into the facility. Just because you were
growing into bigger space.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, you know, those first 5 or 6 years, it was just so much going on, trade show after trade show after trade show. So, like, being away on a weekend, for me, like, the thought process was like, I'm going to go spend a couple grand to go away and go enjoy a beach. Meanwhile, like, I'm here not closing this deal or moving this forward, or, you know, whatever the case may be at the time.
Yeah. So
to me, it just felt like I was, I don't know, like, it was like lost opportunity.
Wasting your time.
Wasting my time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounded like a nice thing to do, but, you know, for me, it was nicer to just get through whatever other hurdle at the time that I was just trying to bang through, you know?
Right.
So, yeah. So,
And now
I mean,
is your
let's be
girlfriend
honest.
changing her mind?
Well,
She's forcing you to go on vacation?
it was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the business was at a different place. I had a lot more processes in place,
Yep.
written SOPs. I had management. So like by that point, it was certainly getting easier. And I'm sure there was weekends where I had, an extended, 3 days or 4 days. And,
Yeah.
I mean, even saying that, if I look back, like I had a team where I could leave to go to these trade shows. So it wasn't like I absolutely had to be glued to the business at a certain point.
Yeah.
It was just, I also, I guess, wanted to be there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I could have taken time to go away for a trade show, then I could have ultimately
went.
taken,
Okay,
time to go for, a little beach walk or something. But
Beach walk?
I mean, they didn't know any different. I mean, it's not that the team didn't know any different. They knew where I was.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
my presence, say, at the facility or wherever,
Yeah.
wasn't needed
Right.
per se. Right.
Yeah, it turns into like a loyalty thing. It's like your kid. Like, you know, I know now I have a team like working for me. Like I don't have to be there, but I know that as soon as I put myself in that position, then like the business grows. Every time I step foot in there, the business grows because I come up with another system or I come up with another idea or I have another teamwork or, adding customers or something. So yeah, it really does. So yeah, that's the next thing I kind of want to talk about is, philosophies and, building, a customer base, building loyalty. So yeah, what do you think made your particular product so successful?
Well, like
Aside from your astonishing hard work, because
relentless.
honestly, relentless hard work.
Yeah. Well, at first, so marketing was a challenge. At first, I didn't understand branding. I didn't have any, marketing background.
Right.
So, it took a little bit to kind of understand what I wanted the brand to stand for. In the beginning, there wasn't a whole lot of companies kicking around in the raw food space. So, at the time it was just like, get orders out the door. You're a raw food company. You do this, you do that. There wasn't this.
Which is kind of nice to be like a trailblazer to begin with, right? Like having a monopoly is already a good start.
For sure. But you were just trying to get raw food into a retail store, to kind of satisfy those customers that were out there looking for it.
Totally.
You weren't thinking about, okay, am I looking to be the guy that has the product that's made with ingredients that are, all within 100, kilometers of their facility, and then have that type of marketing play on what you want the company to stand for. Is it a quality play over a cost play, right? So over the years I kind of had to start thinking about that because there was more and more people getting into the raw food space, and so now at this point I had to figure out, how am I going to differentiate?
Now you got to be a
Iron Will,
competitor,
right? So now I've got competitors who are very close in, say, ingredient labels, right? So then now how do you differentiate yourself, right?
Right.
So I mean, for me it was like, okay, I can kind of do the whole race to the bottom on price and say I'm going to find the cheapest products and I'm going to put out the cheapest product and that's going to be it, right? And yeah, that was never my thing.
I hate that.
Over time, and you know what, I had some different business mentors, coaches that I met with over time. And, I remember having a conversation with one of them and he said, like, you can be a $5 million company, $10 million company, $20 million company, or greater if you want. You just have to figure out how you want to get there. Do you want to make, 20 million widgets at $1 a piece, or do you want to make half the amount of widgets at $2 a piece with bigger margins? Like, how much work do you want to do to get there?
Right.
So I gave that some thought and I thought, well, I mean, hey, if I'm not worried about quality and I just want to look at price, then
Bash
sure,
out
like
some
I
crap.
can just find the cheapest ingredients and go that way.
Yeah.
And I said, well, no, that's not
eyeballs
really my
and
philosophy.
assholes. Just feed them hot dogs, yo.
I mean, hey, there's some pretty nasty stuff. And
Yeah.
you know, to preface this, like we have no regulations in the raw food industry in Canada.
Yeah,
like
there's
the pet
nothing.
food industry
There's nothing
in general.
mandating you.
Right. So, you know, early on, I had to say to myself, okay, for me, it's going to be food safety, which was something that nobody was doing at the time. So I think in all of Canada, in 2018, we came out as like, I think the third company in Canada to do like a HACCP certification, which is like a food safety certification that, you know, your federal and provincial meat establishments in Canada would uphold because they have inspectors coming in and they've, you know, they have to uphold these food safety
I love
guidelines.
that. Yeah.
So that was something that I'm like, yeah, no, like for me, that seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I love that it was like your virtue and your value, but then you can really like market the crap out of that. That's amazing for clients.
Yeah.
They're not worrying about getting, you know, like salmonella or like poison.
Right.
What's it called when like a jar
E. coli.
thing? Botulism?
Botulism.
Botulism?
Yeah.
Right? Like those are all things that like if you're not handling your meat properly,
Yeah.
you're going to deal with. So that's
Well,
great.
and this is it. Yeah. So it was like,
Smart.
you know, I thought to myself, like, well, people are putting this side by each in their fridge, you know, to their human
Right.
products. So if I'm not handling, you know, or, you know, our team is not handling this well, then like there's some serious risk that comes with, you know, what we're doing.
Right.
So early on I said, okay, you know, this is what we're going to do. And I actually teamed up with Niagara College, and they worked with me to build a food safety system for the company.
It's amazing.
So that was really awesome. Met a lot of great people through that program. We did a couple different grants and stuff with them over the years.
And so much education too.
Yeah,
Like it's cool.
100%. Yeah. So, you know, that was one. So, you know, food safety was going to be the other one. And I thought, okay, the next one's going to be quality. And so, you know, I was always looking for that kind of cut above, if you want to call it, you know, I
literally,
wasn't
quite
yeah,
literally,
literally,
yeah.
You know, so we were, that's just the way for me that the company had to move forward, you know.
So
it
is
had
that
to
like,
be,
did that mean like, you know, from like where you were sourcing like a farm, like from a farm or something? Or butcher or?
Yeah, from the individual kind of abattoirs that we were dealing with,
right.
The suppliers that we were dealing with, you know, you know, especially with the food safety system that we were putting in place, like it then kind of, I don't want to say restricted us, but in a certain sense, we had to get certain documentation, you know, from a supplier to say like, hey, you know, they can give us a certificate of analysis, they can give us a guarantee, they, you know, traceability wise, you know, we know where this product's been. In our facility, you know, we had to implement certain traceability kind of SOPs and procedures so that I knew from the moment this product kind of entered our facility to, you know, basically to the customer, like if anything ever went wrong, then I could track that product. I could track all the raw materials. I could track the finished goods. Yeah. So, I mean, early on, we were implementing like inventory management systems and all that kind of stuff so that we could, you know, keep track of all this stuff.
But then your value shows through, right? And then like you don't have to fight for the cheapest product. You get to and price yourself accordingly.
And and I, you know, at the time I had to make some decisions because, you know, from an operations perspective, we couldn't do all that stuff and keep the price points that we had.
No.
So, you know, whether customers were happy about it at the time or not, you know, prices ultimately had to go up and they had to reflect the operation. They had to reflect the raw materials and the product that was coming in.
Right.
And, you know, I got a lot of shit for it. There's no doubt. Like, you know, customers were pissed. They're like, hey, I was paying this, you know, 2 years ago when you know, started the business, or, you know, a couple of years after you were doing the business. Now all of a sudden I'm paying this. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, not a lot of people understood what, you know, a HACCP certified facility, you know, had to go through, right? It just, I think a lot of people take for granted that, you know, when it comes to our human products, like it's just expected that things
because we have an FDA, right?
Well,
we have somebody,
CFIA,
we have guidelines.
OMAFRA, the, you know, provincial body that, like, you don't operate a meat facility without these
credentials, qualifications,
right, or processes, procedures in place. Like you can't do it.
Right.
Whereas in our industry, it was like, I mean, if you wanted to make this stuff in a 100-degree barn, at the back of your property, like you could do that.
Right.
Like there was nobody stopping you. And
right.
I mean, there's really still is nobody stopping you.
No, right.
The only difference is that, guys like myself and some of the other companies, we've evolved and, people are starting to invest into these things and making it a priority.
Yeah.
So like you can still do that, but you're not going to get as far without being able to say, hey, I'm also doing these things, right?
Right, yeah.
So, so we kind of had to kind of pioneer that a little bit. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But,
cool.
Our retailers over the years, the product was consistent. They knew what they could, expect from us.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We even got to like points where like, we would get a customer complaint. I mean, we, at all times you're going to get customer complaints.
Yeah, 100%. That's what they're made to do.
Yeah. Like it's just,
they're
you
made to complain.
Tens of thousands or millions of pounds of product out in the market. Like someone's going to get something that, they're going to complain about.
They're
right.
Like,
so, which is fine. And we totally understand.
Yeah.
But,
meanwhile, they ate a pound of grass before they ate their dinner.
Over the years, like, I remember being on the phone with somebody and they're like, no, it was definitely your food. And we're like, oh, this is really weird. Like, we don't have any other complaints about this product. Like, I can track and trace all this. So, so in your head, you're like, okay, let's figure this out. I mean, all of a sudden you go through a couple of phone calls with this person like, oh yeah, I forgot the dog got into the cat litter and ate, the cat poo, last night. We kind of forgot about that.
Okay, well.
And it's like, okay, well, like, that,
God.
Here I am like.
Racking your brain.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we're having a heart attack because we're like, holy shit, like, how did this product make this dog sick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we even had at one point, I think someone went away sometime near Christmas, and they had a friend staying at their house watching their dog. I think an ornament fell. It was something along these lines. An ornament had fallen, and somehow I think the container of food was out on the counter, and like a shard of this like ornament had like got in the food. It was a glass or it was like something ceramic or whatever.
No.
So like this person's on vacation calling us going like, what the hell? And I knew this person. So it wasn't even like it was just like a random customer. Like I know this person.
Right.
They're calling me, their dog sitter / friend is, kind of on the other line going like, what the hell? Like, I don't know if this dog's like already had some of this. Like, was it in the other bit of food that we fed? Like,
right.
But, luckily, again, we have all of our records. So we could say like, no, this, and then no, this, there's no way that this came from our facility because, we can go and look and see that, this red shard of whatever,
oh my
I don't remember what color it was, but so,
dog show.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times it was, it was kind of a godsend that, we decided to move in that direction because it gave us a lot of, consistency in our product. Retailers knew. And I guess what I was getting at was that at times, we would even have retailers say like, hey guys, like, we know this didn't come out of your product, or we know that, something must have happened between, now and when this customer picked it up, because they had such confidence in the product.
That's
and
awesome.
We did facility tours, we brought people through, we showed them what the processes were, so we were transparent in what we did. So we had a lot of confidence from our retailers, and I think we still do.
Such a hard
right?
product to sell. We're talking about like all kinds of like different business, like further business acquisitions, and I keep coming back to that. I'm like, nothing edible. Like I just cannot mentally wrap my head around anything that anyone
refrigerated
eats.
Frozen products in my future.
No, right? You're just fighting against all those things you talked about, and I think it's amazing that you focused on those as like being your virtue and your value. However, what a gong show. Anything that goes in people's mouths, dog, it doesn't matter. Anything edible, no thank you.
Yeah, if you got to cook it or you got to produce it. I mean, I don't know how many times I said to myself, why couldn't you just pick a dry product? Why couldn't you pick a treat?
Totally.
And
Could have made dog
dehydrated,
cookies. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like even our facility, like, everything, had to be full wash down.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You had to be able to spray chemicals and, sanitize and, all the stuff. But I mean, even to this day, like people still walk in the facility and are like, oh my God, it's like
pristine.
It's very clean for a
plant.
Well, for a pet food processing. Like,
right.
There was years, and we just got away from it because, as time got on, I didn't have the space, or I didn't have the space in our production schedule to do it. But for years, like myself and my family, we would go in January, being Italians, it was supersata season, sausage season.
Oh,
and
nice.
we would use all the machines, and I'd use my suppliers to get all our meat and stuff. So,
oh my gosh.
I got videos and pictures of Nona standing on the production floor in a hairnet and, in an iron will like coat. And we're making, sausage and supersata in the pet food facility because, we could, it was clean, it was sterilized, and so it was
great.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really interesting that the company is actually paving the way for the regulations where it's typically the other way around.
Yeah, well, there was a few of us in the industry that recognized that obviously there was a gap, right?
Yeah.
And in most industries, there's a level playing field, right? Because everybody has to operate at a minimum standard or minimum level. So we had to take it upon us to say like, hey, if we want to compete at a higher level, then, we're going to have to be the ones that figure out what this is going to look like, right?
Yeah.
CFIA has enough on their plate from a human perspective. Like they're not looking at necessarily getting involved in raw, pet food processing. Maybe at some point in the future they will, but we had to set some standards for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And kind of hope that newcomers will have to adopt that, right?
Totally.
It's going to be the white ladies with the dogs in the bags. Those things have the weakest stomachs. They're going to need the most. They're going to be the ones to say, make sure you take care of my dog properly.
That's right.
Do you have a business decision that turned out better than expected?
I think kind of what we were just talking about, like understanding, really what values and standards that I wanted the company to stand for, because in the end, it gave me a clear understanding of how the company was going to operate, like, how we were going to move forward, what we were going to say yes to, what we were going to say no to, how we were going to hire staff, and we did some work around mission, vision, values. I probably could have done a better job, at times, posting it and making it part of the board. The culture and stuff. But anybody that has worked for us, regardless of, I think, how it's ever ended, whether positive or negative, like I think everyone always understood, what my standards and what the company's standards were, and how we were going to uphold that. Yeah. Right. I mean, everybody knew if I walked into the plant, even to this day, and certain things were going on that shouldn't be, like they knew that I was going to see it right away, and that, I'd ask to have it corrected. Right. Like it was just one of those things. And I think that was probably for me, kind of the turning point, so that we
just getting clear on those things. Yeah. When I first was introduced, and again, like same thing. I came from like working on the ground floor. So like when it's just you by yourself, you're not sitting in your head and being like, what's my vision? What's my mission? Because it's in your head, right?
That's it. And again, not starting the business with the intent of having a full business plan.
I know. Yeah. You just start by accident. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then I think, you hit on a really good point, which was like for a long time when we were workshopping this in my mastermind company, we were talking about these things, and in my head I was thinking, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, we're doing this for the clients. We're doing this so that we're like selling these virtues and values to our customers, so that in my situation, it's like the kids and the families understand what we stand for.
Yep.
But you're right. It really does end up maneuvering and putting your whole company in that direction and that vision. Like, you have to get out of your head and you have to like put it down on paper so that you understand, and everybody else understands, your team understands like where you're going and what's important to you as like a CEO, because they really do want to, be a team player. They want to do what you want.
Well.
Yeah, they want to do what their boss wants them to do, right?
100%. Yeah.
So I think until you put out that kind of like compass, that moral and business compass, they don't really know. And having to like keep saying it and reiterate
because
it.
It comes down to, hey, how are we producing the product, but how are we talking to our customers, even from a marketing perspective?
Right.
How do we address somebody when they call in with a problem?
Right.
Like, all of that has to be hashed out.
Yeah. I also feel like it's been like a kind of a new concept in business. Like, we've seen some comedians joking about it. Like, what does Wheaties stand for? Like, what is, what's Skippy Peanut Butter's like moral thoughts on racism? It's like, it's always been like kind of a cheeky or like tongue in cheek idea. But like, as an operator, as a founder, as a CEO, you're like, no, I get it. It's like, it pulls your team and your culture together where people like enjoy working for it because they know what the expectations are. They know where you're going.
Yes.
They know what the vision for the future is. Yeah.
Right. Helps them do their job easier in a sense, right?
Yeah. If they're like, okay, this is what we're going for. This is our goal. This is our like, what's important to us, our value, then every decision they make kind of go in that direction, right?
Yep.
So I used to think it was like to sell the product more, but I really think it does like bring your team together a lot. So I'm still
100%.
working on that. I agree. It's hard, right? When you're just trying to get the product out.
Even
you're
to
like,
this day, don't get me wrong, I'm no, expert on it. Like I'm sure there's lots that I could improve on, from that aspect, but you realize that it's important and it takes some time.
Yeah.
Especially again, once you pull your head out of the weeds and you're not doing all the day-to-day stuff, you start going, oh, okay, yeah, like these are the things that I now need to consider. Yeah. Right. And think about. So
we talked about when we were hanging out last week, kind of prepping for this, we were discussing personal branding.
Oh.
And I was teasing you because I was saying, and I think again, it comes back to that, like your clients, your customers, it comes down to like, I wasn't making it a personal attack. I think I'm more like interested in it as a business owner of like, why is, it okay now as a society, or why are they so obsessed with like knowing about the leadership, right? Like, why do they need to know every personal detail about you? Why is there personal branding as a CEO now?
See, it's funny because I remember in the beginning, it was all about me.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was the guy making the food. I was the guy selling the food, at 4 to 8 p.m. at my front door when, orders were ready to go.
Right.
And then as time went on, it's not that we didn't want to tell the story of Matt Bonanno and how the company started, but there was this, I guess, in my mind, this thought around like, if I'm going to pass, the baton on to other people and back away from some of the day-to-day so I can work on the business, then it can't be all about me because I'm not the one now answering the phone or taking, the order or whatever. Right. So, it's funny how it's evolved because, it was like this, hey, it's all about me. Now it's not so much about me. And now it's like, oh, hey, I think about it now more that the business sold because people may see the company, but then they don't see the person ultimately behind the success of the company. Right. So now that, the business is sold and I've moved on, I kind of, at the same time also slightly kick myself in the ass for not being, maybe as, front and center. And maybe not front and center, but just aware of, kind of, I guess, my thoughts and values. And I guess anybody that really knew the company would understand that, like, Iron Will stands for these things because Matt stands for these things.
Exactly.
Right? Like, anybody that has ever seen, my house, my car, my office, like everything's quite pristine and everything has a place. And, you know, you don't
I know
see
I
too
said
many
that. I'm
papers
like,
kicking
I don't want
around
you to
my
come to
desk.
my house because it's a huge mess. I have 2 kids. Like, you know, I have kids. I have the studio kids in my house. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, you're not like the Colonel Sanders. You got a cartoon of you everywhere you go.
Oh my God. I wish.
Yeah. So I mean, now, and with, you know, social media and all that kind of stuff, like, you know, the personal branding has just gone, you know,
Crazy.
Yeah.
Just crazy. We had like a whole seminar on it. And they were like, oh yeah, you know, if you're like bathing your kids, put it on Instagram. If you're out grocery shopping, put it on
Yeah.
Instagram. And I'm like, I'm not going to get anything done. Like,
Well, you know, yeah.
I got to video
You
myself
think about
doing
that
everything.
as well,
Like,
yeah. And then you think about, you said it to me, stop being selfish.
yeah.
Right?
Share
And
yourself
share-
because you
yeah.
have so much knowledge to pass on to people.
And you know, it's funny, I've heard that from other, you know, I guess influencers and or you know, business leaders,
owners,
right?
yeah.
Like, to say, like, you know, share what you
Share
have
the
to know.
wealth.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it seems weird. I've never been the social media guy. You know, I had to learn it. I had to, you know, in the beginning, I was the one doing all the posts and stuff, but I just,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't me taking a video of me walking around, right? Like it was always focused on something else, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, as you say that, it's like, I'm just supposed to walk around with a, you know, camera
badge.
attached to my,
Oh yeah.
you know,
I know.
arm, so that I'm, you know, everything I do, and you see that nowadays on social media. That's what it basically seems like most people do, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, it just doesn't seem appetizing for me.
No,
you know?
it's
Like,
not.
Nope.
It's not great. It's just, you know, it creates those opportunities. And I think, again, I didn't say it to bring to, you know, salt the wound.
No, hey.
I brought it up because I just think it's very interesting that, like, you know, if we as like CEOs, it's like, I have enough to do. I'm trying to balance my team. I'm dealing with customers. I'm ordering product. I'm like doing merch. I'm doing social media. I'm doing this marketing. And now I have to hold a selfie stick around while I'm trying to live my life. I maybe have an hour to myself every day. And now you want me to video it and personally brand myself at the same time. Like, this is a gong show.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah.
I don't even have a LinkedIn picture. So
Oh my
like
God.
that's how good I am at
I know.
personal
I came
branding.
home. I'm like, Matt, your
It's my
profile
logo.
picture is your legs and a dog.
Yeah, Justine will be all over me for you saying that, because she said that. Are you going to change your, you know, picture? Because it's like my old dog and my knees. It's basically what you see. But hey, you know what?
And you guys have been together 3 years. She's like,
Most people
when's the
cared more
couple
about the
profile?
dog than they did me. It's fine.
Aww.
So no. So you know what?
Yeah.
I you know, I've thought like probably time to go get some headshots.
Yes.
And update my LinkedIn profile. You
Totally.
know, be that professional guy.
Yeah, because people are gonna. I mean, now like you might like. We're gonna get into this, so yeah, we can kind of talk about it. So, yeah, you've recently.
You want to take a break?
Yeah. Okay, let's take a break. I wanted to talk about this album. Yeah, let's take a break.
Perfect. We'll be back.
Here tonight talking to Matt Bonanno. He is the owner, or the founder, sorry, of Iron. My God, I'm going to say it wrong.
Iron
Well Raw. So yeah, we're talking about all about business. As you guys know, our listeners know, that is my my niche, my favorite thing to talk about now as I continue to grow all our different businesses. So yeah, it's been awesome having you on the show. So yeah, I just wanted to change gears because I know it's a heavy topic, but yeah, so all the discussions that we've had about your business journey, actually you've sold your company.
Business journey has ended.
No, a different one is opening, but yeah.
Partially ended.
Yeah, so when I actually reached out, I had said to Matt, oh my God, we want to have you on the podcast. You're like so big, you're so successful in your business. And your response was,
it's not my business anymore.
Exactly. It's none of my business.
It's none of my business.
Oh my gosh. So I was just shocked because I think, as an entrepreneur myself, your dream is to get you don't ever see the end typically until you've gotten to that point where you're like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. As an entrepreneur, typically you're just thinking like, I'm going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And I have these like goals and growth for my business. I haven't got to the point where I was like, oh, maybe I could like build something that is scalable and sellable.
Yeah. Well, over the years, I mean, like the question came up like, hey, like, what are you going to do with the business? Right. I mean, I know, and I kind of knew that I didn't want kids. So like, when the question comes up, you go, oh yeah, well, like I'm not going to have kids that I can hand this business down to, I mean, I don't know how many kids in high school are
kids,
like, hey, yeah, I want to go take over my dad's dog food business. Like,
I don't think they ever want to take over their parents' business, to be honest.
Less and less, I think, is kind of the way that's going.
Yeah.
So over the years, I thought, okay, well, at some point, this kind of has to happen. Or, you also hear about, employees in businesses, taking over depending at, what level the team's at and, running the business and then potentially purchasing it from the owner. So, I thought that could have been an option. But, over the years, with the industry growing so quickly, there were knocks at the door, a number of times where people were saying, hey, listen, like, how can I get in? How can I get in? Can I, be a, silent partner, or can I give you some cash? Can I buy a certain percentage? So there was times where I'd looked at it in the past, and, depending on how certain, markets were going at times, people started knocking on the door a little bit more. COVID, had quite a few, people knocking on the door. Hey, you want to take some equity off the table? And, my response is funny, always was, until you can put me on an island for the rest of my life, like take a hike. And
you didn't even go on one vacation.
Well, that's why I had to make up for it, right?
Oh my God. I need to live on an island from now on.
For the rest of my life.
My own island.
And so you can get me that much money, go take a hike.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Because people are either they're tire kicking or they're, you go through all the things in your head. Either they're tire kicking, they want to know more about your business because they're going to start something up.
Maybe
so
they're just trying to
strategically, you also have to go like, is this legit?
Totally.
Right? Which, when these guys knocked on the door, it's funny. Like I got an email from the new CEO at the time, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, it came through, and I was like, who's this guy?
Did he roll up in a Porsche?
No.
Okay.
But so I ignored the email. Then he emailed again a couple more times, ignored them, ignored some phone calls.
Oh my gosh.
Finally he got through to my HR manager, Wendy, and she's like, hey, this guy called, and
like,
he's really interested in the business. And I was like, oh fuck. Like, okay. So I said, yeah, I got the message. I left it on my phone. I haven't called him back.
Right.
And so
when was this?
This would have been, I want to say it was like early summer 2024.
Okay.
So I want to say it was probably a good year between like kind of the whole courting process.
Courting. I love that.
To get me to answer the phone and then sit down. And so once they kind of got a hold of Wendy, I said, okay, you know what, that's fine. She's like, well, hey, listen, go talk to him. Why not?
Yeah.
Right?
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I took her advice, gave him a call, had a conversation, kind of liked what I heard, but still skeptical. So I think I had a couple lunches with the guys.
He just like pitched you?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they obviously had an idea of what they wanted to do. They saw some gaps in, in the market in terms of, packaging and marketing and stuff. So, he kind of told me his background, what he saw for, what they wanted to do. And it all sounded good, which, I mean, it's like anything
does.
in the honeymoon phase, right?
Good.
It always sounds good.
Right.
So, I still was skeptical, met with him a couple times, took a couple months back and forth before I, really felt comfortable and kind of understood, kind of their values and what they wanted to do. And I think I finally said to myself, like, okay, what I'm hearing certainly aligns with kind of my goals for the company. And I thought maybe now's the time,
because while someone's like telling you one thing, like you're still digesting in your head, like, what is my life going to look like without this? This is like giving away a child.
And we had seen in the raw pet food market, there was a kind of private equity company that came in, bought up some small guys. I want to say this started back 2017, 2018-ish.
Okay.
And so this company had bought up, I don't know, like 4 or 5 raw food companies across Canada.
The same company?
No.
Oh, a different one.
Different private equity company.
Okay.
And they tanked it. I mean, they pissed all the distributors off. They pissed off all the retailers. They were just, the guy that kind of ran it was just a total dick.
How do you do that?
I mean, I remember he told me, when we were speaking with them originally, like, I'm going to buy you or I'm going to bury you. Like, that was kind of what he went around. That was kind of the like rhetoric that
like,
he
what in the heck?
went with. So, yeah. So literally like every raw food company that had kind of watched this happen, like in the back of our mind, speaking to anybody since that whole debacle, and it kind of happened over a few years and they finally fizzled out. And I think they may have like one of the companies kind of still operating, kind of limping along. But, in the back of our head, we're like, is this going to be another shit show, right?
Yeah.
Like, is this, what I'm getting into,
yeah.
right?
And I think, you probably, it's like similar to us, like any houses we sold, we kind of keep an eye on it. Like we'll drive by and just like kind of look and be like, oh, you know, they put in a crappy shed or whatever garden, right? So like, you're going to have to see your product.
Yes.
And hear from your clients that are like
100%.
Loyal and dedicated.
Yep.
That you're going to have to get the feedback even though 100%. You sold it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, you're paranoid of that. Like, are they just going to wreck this for everyone?
Yeah. So it took some time for me to finally come around. But, after talking with the group of guys and, they're all roughly around like our age, kind of like late 30s to mid 40s-ish. They have some experience in pet and some in different industries. Mm-hmm. But, it was also kind of nice. I'm like, okay, well, hey, listen, I can join the team because they bought more than just me. They bought 2 other companies, one in Alberta and then another one here in Ontario. So I thought, well, hey, listen, either I can be part of the team or again, we're kind of back in this cycle of having to kind of ward off, this group of companies, right. In the market. So I thought, you know what, hey.
You're like, I love going to Alberta anyways.
Yeah, why not, right?
Alberta's my favorite place to go for trade shows.
Who doesn't want to do that?
Oh my God.
So I thought, hey, well, you know what? Let's just be part of the team this time, right?
Yeah.
And
it's kind of fun joining up with like other CEOs. Like I have that with my coaching now. And it's like, it's dance studio owners from like around the world. Yeah. And just like getting together with like somebody else to like, take that like experience. Like they've had those type of experiences. It's nice.
Yeah. And I mean, as a sole owner, at one point in the company, I had kind of a significant other that was part of the business. And, that ended. But, in that time where that person was around, I had somebody else, kind of on my team, right, to go to, as you guys do, right? Like you have somebody that you can trust to go to and say, hey, I'm dealing with this today. Like, either I just need you to listen, or I need some help, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So, for a few years now, I had been operating literally on my own. It was lonely. Just me. And I mean, you hear it all the time. Like it's pretty lonely at the top, right? So, you have, people that come and go that, are maybe closer to you, in that kind of business relationship that, you have to put some trust in, whether it's an HR manager or a finance manager or whatever the case may be, because they have to see all parts, good and bad, of what's going on, right? So at this point, it had been few years of operating, kind of on my own, seeing some people come and go. And then, also now having Justine in my life, where it's kind of like, I want to be able to have some more time to myself. The business was operating, independently of me, and we were able to take vacations. We went to Italy for a couple of weeks, but that was a couple of years ago. So, and we've gone on, extended weekends and weeks away, and we, typically
she
do
works really hard too.
She does as well. Yeah.
You guys are a match made in not going on vacation.
No, I mean, she pushes for the vacations, and
Good
thank
for
God
her.
that she does.
I'm on her team.
Yes. If she didn't, I certainly probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to have that,
motivation.
That person, and, that motivation saying, hey, let's go away for a weekend, or let's go skiing or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we always have a great time.
Yeah.
So, it's not like it's not enjoyable.
No.
But so I, thinking of all of that, and where I had come from, and kind of seeing what the future kind of looked like, it was like, okay, well, can't be the worst thing, let's give this a try. So and part of it too, I said to myself, okay, so you've built this company to where it is now. You've sold millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of raw food. You've built facilities, you've built production lines, you've automated, you've done all these things. That's great, pet, but are these skills transferable?
100% they are.
Right? So you want to believe that they are.
They are.
But until you do something else, you don't know how transferable they are, right?
Yeah.
So you're always going to question, hey, like, did I get lucky here, or can I do this again in some way, shape, or form? So, so there was that other question of like, hey, like,
let's
future's
try this
unknown,
again.
but like, maybe let's try this again.
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, like you want to stay hungry. You want to be passionate about something. So you do get to a certain point where you're like, am I still inspired? It's not like you're, it's the same thing with our kids. Our kids are going to come to an age where we're going to be like, fly free, and like, we're going to do something else, and we're going to pick a different passion. I also think there's this big part of business. And we find this in real estate too. I always say like, it only takes one, but like it takes that one, and like it's unique. Every like house only has that one buyer. Every business, like, are you gonna get a million offers like that?
Yeah, like what,
what if it doesn't come again? What if I'm 65 years old and now I never got another offer?
Is it 2 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road that next person comes and says, oh, hey, I appreciate what you've done.
Exactly.
And I'd like to give you some cash for that.
Exactly.
Right?
You don't know like the opportunity. And I hear business owners all the time. Like now we're seeing, like 60-plus-year-old business owners, and like, they've worked their whole life, running this business or growing this business. And now they're just going to like put the close sign on the door and walk away because nobody wants it. Not even their own kids want it, So, so I think you have to, you're a good business owner for considering the fact that like this might not come again. Yeah. You don't know.
No, you don't. You never know what the future holds. So so I just said, all right, we're going to embrace this, and we're going to do it. I mean, it was a roller coaster. There's no doubt it was a roller coaster, because you go through all of that. You think through all of the scenarios, right? What if I start showing these guys certain things, then all of a sudden they're not interested anymore, right?
Yeah. How does that? I'm curious because we're going through the other side. Like we're purchasing a business, and like we're straight up. So I'm not in my head thinking like, oh, I'm going to check out your computer and run. But what are the actual like timelines in terms of like, because obviously I'm not going to buy a business that I've never seen. So I got to see something. You got to show me like what you got. You got to show me your card, show me the system, show me your money, show me your P&L.
Yeah. Well, and of course, over the years, I've built up a team of great advisors between accountants and lawyers, et cetera, et cetera. So, the minute something like this, comes forward, I know better now. I've gotten slapped a couple times for not bringing things forward.
Yeah.
So, it's like, hey, gotta go right to my lawyer, right? Like, this is what's going on. Accountant, hey, this is what's going on. And it's like, okay, so where do we
what
start?
to do.
What am I saying? What am I not saying?
Yeah.
So you go to your trusted advisors and you say, okay, what does this look like from here on in, right?
Yeah.
How do I protect myself? How do I make sure that, I can give them enough information that, if their plan is to buy myself and, potentially a couple other businesses, like, how am I not just giving them the ammunition to understand my business if they decide to move on to somebody else, right? Because they have options, right? It doesn't mean that necessarily, you know, the next guy down the road is going to say yes, but there's potential that you could say yes.
Totally.
Right. So now they have all my customers, they have this, like, they know what the whole picture looks like. They know my strengths and they know my weaknesses. Right.
Yeah.
So like that's something that through the whole process, you have to, you know, you have to get over.
Full-blown paranoia.
But yeah, I mean, there's some days where you're like, holy shit, like, is this actually going to go?
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, it's a negotiation all the way through.
Right.
You know, so, you know, are there times where they're like, well, you know, if this has to be true, then yeah, I'm just not sure if that's going to work for us. Then you're like, oh fuck, like, okay, so like, is this them bluffing? You know, how hard do I push over here? How hard do I push for this? Or how hard do I push for that?
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's a lot of second guessing, a lot of, you know, just not, you know, 1 minute you're sure, and then the next minute, you know, a week later, you know, you're negotiating this X and X agreement with, you know, your lawyers and your accountants, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not really sure anymore. It's like, oh fuck,
God.
you know. So yeah, so like it.
Them or you or both.
Or both sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes it, you know, yeah, you have to double down on something like that. You know, I needed to be true for this to work for me, right?
Right.
So, you know, at that point, you're going like, okay, well, double down. You know, like, you know, it's a negotiation, right? Like, first person to kind of talk kind of loses in a sense, right? So yeah, so there was
and everything's
times
through
that
lawyers too. We're in the acquisition phase, and like everything's going back and forth to lawyers, and I'm like, can't we just sit and have a conversation? But you can't.
No, because
then you're not protected,
you can't, right? But then, like, you know, you start having a conversation, and then, you know, I don't, you know, this is my first time. So, you know, I'm talking to a guy from a, you know, private equity firm who's done 100 deals. Like, he knows the paperwork inside and out. He knows, you know, what I have seen or haven't seen. And he knows, you know, what they may be trying to pull, you know, 3 steps away. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that. So like, you know, a lot of times it's like, I may not understand something in the agreement. So now it's like, okay, I got to go back to the lawyer and say, hey, can you explain this to me? Just, I want to be sure that, you know, I think it means X, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was a very different process going through all the due diligence. You know, part of it was kind of cool too, to see, you know, keeping a relatively organized business and processes and paperwork and having good advisors and accountants over the years. It actually made it really easy from a due diligence standpoint. You know, they gave me this massive 100 and however many, you know, lines on a spreadsheet, like, hey, we need all of this information and we need it uploaded into this box, you know,
You're
under
like,
each
Google
of the
Drive,
headings.
boom.
And I'm like, yeah, boom, here, like drag and drop, right? Like,
here's my Google Drive.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. And then it means certain things got a little bit more into the weeds. So, like, you know, you had to search for some things or put some different documents and stuff together. But, you know, it was also nice to see that aspect of it because they appreciated it. And I think it kind of held some value
100%.
for them to see, like, okay, I'm not buying, you know, something where if I ask for this document or that document, like, it
100%.
probably doesn't exist.
I think that, like, I'm imagining like that would be the moment for me where someone says to me, like, you know, aren't you proud of what you built? That would be the moment where I'm like, hell yeah, I'm so impressed with what I built. It's so easy.
I can find this. You know, you're asking for it. I can find it. I can upload it. You know,
and also go back in your mind to like other years in, you know, before that moment, and think of how many times if someone asked you for those documents, you would have been like, they don't exist, man. Like,
or,
you know,
or times when, you know, people are saying like, do we really got to hold on to this for, you know, 7 years?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, no,
we really do.
Right?
Yeah, we really do.
Sure as shit. You're like, oh yeah, no,
I needed it.
good thing we made a folder for that in finance and accounting on SharePoint,
Yeah, exactly.
So
my accountant's constantly like, do you have this? And I'm like, no, I don't have that. They're like, well, you better. Like, oh God. Yeah. I'm just starting that now, like starting to build out systems. And I think those are the moments where someone says to you, like, do you have this document on hand? And you're like, yeah. And then that's to me, that's how I feel really like proud of something that I've created. Cause I'm like, yeah, I am proud. It's not, and someone says to you, are you proud what you got, what you've done? You're like, yeah, I guess. But it's moments like that where you actually see it all laid out and you're like, yes, I am proud of this. I worked so hard on it. Yeah. So clean sail.
So I mean, it took, almost really a year in a sense, like kind of start to finish. I think, kind of started putting the letter of intent and all of that, together. I think towards it was the end of December of 2024.
Wow.
So it was like we were heading for holidays and kind of like doing the last revisions between the lawyers and accountants and stuff to double check to make sure that we were all kind of good, right?
Wow.
And so then kind of everything kicked off, all the due diligence and back and forth in early 2025, and closed June 5th, I think was the exact date.
Wow.
So
crazy.
So I mean, I'm still there. I'm still part of the business.
I was just gonna say, what's your capacity now?
Yeah. So now I'm founder and VP of partnerships.
You're shaking hands and kissing babies.
Yes, introducing, doing the handoffs, making sure that all the contacts and stuff that I've made over the years that our management team has and knows who the right people are to go to in certain situations, whether it be, facility related stuff, logistics and the trucks and the maintenance and all that kind of stuff, different, contacts that we have at the different head offices, whether it be Ren's or Global Pet Foods or,
all your retail stuff.
Yeah. All the retail stuff. Right. So just having those meetings, introducing the team, just.
So I was right. Shaking hands, kissing babies.
I mean, there's no babies.
No babies. Some dogs.
Not usually.
Some baby dogs.
Lots of dogs.
Yeah, lots of dogs.
So,
Oh, I think it's great.
Yeah. So it's been interesting.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. So it's nice. The joke is that I'm like partially retired, but
yeah, you're just the mascot. Really. That's what I say now. I'm just the mascot in the dance studio.
Yeah.
No, I think again, like this continues to come up. I mean, it comes up in our art discussions. I think it comes up. Again, it's the other half of our podcast, which is opportunities. And I think, especially in our business podcasts with some of our business owners, but it always comes down to partnership. And I think it's really interesting as like even your, exit of your company ends up going back to like the original kind of way that you start a business, which is being a liaison for those partnerships. And I think any business owner will tell you, you can't, it is replicated. It's you can replicate it again because you can work with any product. It's your ability to make partnerships with, between your staff, between yourself and staff, between retailers, between sellers, between customers, that like, it's those partnerships that I think start your business and finish your business. They're the be all end all. And I think it's interesting that on your like way out that's still, again, what you're doing. You're introducing new people to your old people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that really does, it's what make or breaks a business if people have that ability to create partnerships.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the amount of people over the years that, I've met, done, whether it be deals from a retail perspective. I mean, all the different retailers that, I knocked on doors to say, hey, hi, I'm Matt. I'm, the owner of Iron Ore Raw. You don't know me, but will you carry my product, in the beginning of the days? So you meet all those people and, that's the only way you get to do business, right? Like, you have to build those partnerships, whether it's the guys that come in to do maintenance on your refrigeration system or, the guys that come to fix your truck or, whatever the case may be. I mean, there's just so many relationships that are needed in a business. And you know what? Not all of them go well.
No. No.
I'm sure.
Sometimes you got to fire people.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they're going to fire you. I'm sure, there's people that could say a lot of great things about me and, some not so good things about me. Right. But, you pick your battles and you know which relationships are important and which ones, you have to put a little bit more work into, and some that you just say, you know what, it's not worth the work, right? So you move on, right? But,
I think I was thinking back to like your candid stories of like all the times you hear no. And as a business owner, you just get like the thickest skin because you just keep offering and you keep asking and you keep offering and you keep asking and you hear all these no's, and a lot of times like they do kind of blend together. But I think as entrepreneurs, having difficulty celebrating your wins and being able to look back, I think that goes in the realm of like, yeah, you're right, all those partnerships that stuck were people that said yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like for all the times that people said no and we fixate on it, and it's just, it makes this like resilient person that you are today. All the people that said yes were the partnerships that you ended up kind of building yourself around. We always say that. We're like, I got a guy,
Yeah.
I got a guy for that. 100%. I got a guy for all the things.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that's coming out now because, certain relationships, obviously in the beginning we're like, hey, I got to introduce you to this person, because they're the the people that we deal with every day. Right.
They're on your payroll.
Or they're your a vendor or whatever the case may be. So like there's a lot of those, but then not necessarily less important, but just important at a different time. And it's like all of these other relationships that you go, oh yeah, and or we're looking to change this or I don't know, whatever, do something differently, and you're like, oh hey, yeah, you know what, I met this guy at a trade show last year that, him and I got off, chatting about this, that, or the other. And he, he could potentially do this for us. Right. So then, you call that person or you email that person like, hey, I haven't talked to you in 6 months, but like, you started that conversation and maybe at the time nothing happened with it, but kind of those first impressions, like if you're a good guy, then that person may knock on the door 6 months down the road.
Yeah, once the need comes in your head, you're like, oh yeah, I know someone. I got a guy.
Yeah, I got a guy. Or hey, I talked to a guy, right? You never know, right? So
it really is about the partnerships, I think.
Yeah. So, and just being like, generally, I guess, a good person too, because like, everyone's met people where they're like, oh yeah, I don't care how badly I need that. Like I'm not going to see that guy.
I'm never calling that person.
I'm not calling that guy.
Not that guy.
Right, not that guy. And even though you might think of him when you say like, hey, I need that. Sorry, I don't got
I don't care. You can have the best thing in the world. I'm not calling that person. Yeah. I know. So. I don't like, I'm not trying to give out my mentor or consulting services, but there is lots of people that'll like ask me and they'll be like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, or I want to do this. And in my head, I'm thinking, don't do that, man. Just don't. Like, no one's gonna come. I'm so sorry. You're just not likable. Like, how do you say that to someone? It's terrible.
Yeah, you meet those.
Yeah. And I think as an entrepreneur, you're always like, working against that system too, right? You're always looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, how do I say this? How do I do this? Like, is this the right way,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what's in the future? What are you thinking?
Maybe a beach.
Yeah, maybe a beach. You deserve a beach, man.
We're going to spend some time January. We're heading to New Zealand.
Yes.
So kind of a bucket list trip.
Oh, I love this.
So I think it's like 3.5 weeks, like January 2nd to like, I don't know, 26th or something.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. And so soon. You must be excited.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how fast this year's kind of moved along. You know?
Now that you're just shaking hands and kissing babies.
Just relaxing.
Did you have to ask someone for time off?
No. Which
is
kind of great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, will I not be able to do anything well in there? Like, I'm still going to have to be available, I think, to a certain extent.
Reachable if something's wrong. Yeah. How long do you stay on with the company?
About a minimum of a year and a half.
Okay.
Something like that. So we got an agreement that like, there's a minimum, but then, it could extend and, things are going, well. So, they may say, hey, we want
don't
you
need
to stay.
you. We're good.
Or we don't need you, right? Thanks.
Yeah.
Which, it's kind of funny because, seeing how the transition has been going, like given that I had a great team and I got a lot of like good processes and documented processes.
Yeah.
It's actually been really easy, in a sense for them to come in and kind of take a little bit more control of my business.
Right.
Because everything's kind of there. The team's there. They know what to do in certain circumstances. They know who to reach and whatnot. So
it's amazing. Those
so
are those are the proud moments.
Well, in the beginning, it's weird because you go, I'm not really needed. Oh, this is kind of weird. Like,
yeah.
But then at the same time, you have to kind of look at it, in a different light and say, well, I mean, if
this
you didn't have these systems, then like it would be a nightmare, right? So it's kind of good that I'm not necessarily as needed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
you obviously operated like your chain of command properly so that everybody knows who they're reporting to.
Yeah. Yeah. We had kind of divvied up the business into departments. So, finance was here and HR is here and sales, blah, blah, blah. Like, and
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's kind of nice.
Any business dreams on the horizon?
I think
not to get you working before you even quit. But oh my gosh.
No, I mean, it's going to be hard to do nothing,
right?
I mean, I'm already.
I think that's what I was thinking.
It difficult.
Yeah.
Like you can only sell so many things on Marketplace.
Oh my gosh! Out of your house?
Well, just over time, you go, I'm not using that anymore, right? Now that I got time on my hands, I'm like, I'll throw this on Marketplace. But
nice.
I'm doing some stuff around the house, getting some little renos and stuff done, and just things that we wanted to get done that I just kind of
never had
kept
time
putting
for.
off. Yeah. So now it's getting that kind of stuff organized.
Cool.
I mean, from a business perspective, like I want to do something. Whether it's build from scratch again or maybe partner with somebody or find a business that's up for sale, or as we know, there's lots of people out there that are kind of at an age where they got to figure out what they want to do. They're, like you said earlier, like their kids don't necessarily want to take over the business.
Yeah.
But they maybe have never considered selling their business. So I think at some point I'll probably start knocking on some doors and just kind of seeing what's out there.
Yeah. Too bad there's not a platform for that. That's a really good idea of like people being able to buy and sell their businesses, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, it'd be nice if it was all organized.
Like there's, I'm trying to remember, I've seen their sign, but they're like a consulting business that kind of buys and sells businesses. I don't know if they're more like an accounting firm, but I'm trying to remember the name of the business.
Yeah,
they actually have a sign up at White Oaks. I see them every time I walk by. But
you say at White Oaks?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's where I go to the gym.
That's where all the rich people go.
Oh, yeah,
get out of here, Matt.
Oh my God.
I work at LA Fitness, okay?
Oh, that's right around the corner.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Yeah. If I have to drive more than 2 minutes, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's more than 2 minute radius around my house, I'm like a 1920s housewife. I wait at the end of the driveway for my husband to pick me up to go for groceries. Yeah, that's me.
You're funny.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, I feel like that would be a cool business like to it's hard. You really want to go knocking on people's doors,
Yeah.
Half the time the owners aren't there.
Well, true.
Yeah.
But maybe it's one of those things like, things happen, right? Like who knows? You're in a business for X reason.
Yeah.
And you start having a conversation with somebody at the counter or somebody in within the establishment, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, have you ever considered, right? Like, who knows? Like, I'm hoping something organic will kind of happen, but
fall in your lap just like the last one.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can get lucky twice, can't you?
Totally. You 100% can. I get lucky every day.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, hey, it sounds weird because I feel like I'm unemployable, but who knows? Maybe it's just, going to find a sales job for a little bit. Like, just, I don't know. Maybe
I'm
back to selling cars.
Oh my gosh, maybe. I could see you as a car salesman.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Why not?
No, I'm really interested in like refurbishing businesses, because I think we're seeing we're at this time. Yeah, we're at this time in our society really where like the tech has happened so quickly, and just like, it's not like you can't do it on paper and pen. I'm sure there is like probably those successful businesses from the 50s and 60s did have processes, they did have systems, but they were on a piece of paper and a pen. But now like it's just so easy to like set up platforms and like be like, okay, this is the business I'm going to have, and this is the platform that goes with it, and here's an ordering history, 100%. And here's a VA that can do it for me. But it's wild because between our parents' generation and us, that's what changed. And like if they're not willing to learn on a computer, it's not happening for them. And all these businesses around them, all their competitors are just going, right? Like at record speeds.
Oh yeah. I mean, I saw it even, in pet, like, you have retailers that are still using an old school cash register. I mean, I don't even know what to call them. Like they're like, they're not it's not even like a point of sale system, right?
Yeah.
So, there was times where, they couldn't offer, like we had our frequent buyer program. So like we had stores that couldn't offer the frequent buyer program because they had nothing to administer it with, or they would have to literally like keep receipts and write it
card.
on, in a sense. Yeah. Like, and save the receipts and then send them in for reimbursement.
Oh my gosh.
But, there was, I think, I think we've had situations where maybe the retailer, the receipt that whatever they were using printed, like it wasn't clear what the person was buying. It showed like the cost
number,
and how many they bought.
Oh my God.
But that could have been a multitude of products, right? So like we had
in your head, you're like, how are you still in business?
For sure. And some of those retailers, had a pretty decent business going. Like they sold a lot of product, but 100%. I mean, you could tell the ones that were really successful, had the right systems, had the POS system, had the right reporting, right, just everything, right? And they sold that much more product, right? Or they were that much easier to deal with, or, whatever the case may be. So, so, to your point, like there has to be some modernization of a business. Like it can be still be a successful business in a sense.
Yeah.
But I think, there's a lot of opportunity out there to say, hey, now we've got QuickBooks Online, and we've, got a multitude of different platforms that will literally
cater
synchronize
specifically to your business.
Yeah. And then now all of a sudden you're yes, you have multiple systems, but they all sync together. So like our inventory management system, was kind of, I don't want to say made specifically for QuickBooks, but it was a smaller kind of package, but it synced right with QuickBooks. So like all of our inventory management, all of our production, everything kind of went into QuickBooks, and that's where all of our data and our financial data lived. So you can find like these ecosystems of software that ultimately make, running your business so much easier.
Oh my God, so much easier.
And automate all these different processes. And that was really what I was about.
Game changer.
Like trying to find, an easy, streamlined way to say, okay, if we need to get this information from, kind of here over to here, like what's the easiest way to do that? Right. And,
even just like actually, I guess it is information, but I'm saying like, even when clients are from the moment the client orders to the moment they get their product, what does that whole process look like? Yeah. And I want robots to do as much as they can,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because they're precise. They're perfect. They never screw up.
Well,
I guess they break down.
We've had our, website glitches and different things happen. But I mean, it's certainly much less frequent than
Sally, who's trying to take care of her kids.
Right. Is that a 1 or is that a 4? Is that a 7 or is it a 9?
I'm so tired. I stayed up last night and now I can't do my job.
So so I mean, like our online ordering process was basically you went on, ordered, and we had it kind of coded to whether if you were an end consumer, you were a home delivery customer or you were a retailer.
Amazing.
Based on how you logged in and placed your order. Yeah. Is kind of where you started in the journey, kind of start to finish, and how the order got picked and packed and put on a road and all that kind of stuff. So, we had to build that out from start to finish. So, I mean, seeing that and, even having logistics systems where we're routing, for our drivers, and then we're sending out notifications at certain times to those people that are getting deliveries so that they know, hey, you're next, right? Or hey, your delivery schedule, it's the beginning of the day, this is when you can expect your order. Like all of those systems kind of had to work together for us.
Totally.
To really have that full ecosystem. So, I really enjoyed that, part of the business and building those systems and kind of the creativeness.
Seeing them work and seeing stuff happen. You're just
then sometimes changing them because things change, right?
Right.
Like business changes, then you got to kind of adapt to that and kind of pivot. And it's like, okay, well, that was working. It's not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think there's just so much opportunity. There's so
Yeah.
many new AI programs and ways to integrate and
as soon as I
customize.
walk into any business now, I'm like auditing all those things, right? I'm like, where are their staff sitting? Where's their computers? What are they, how are they taking in inventory? Because I think that's probably a better bet for, picking out businesses that you could purchase. Because then all you just go in is tweak a couple things, and all of a sudden you get, it's a business that's already running. Clearly, it's still running.
Yeah,
it's open for, it's open for business, but it could use some of these uppers, and now you improve it. Yeah. So that's kind of where my head's at now. That like when you build a business from scratch, you think, oh, do I want to go back to like that, or do I want to just take something that already has like product, credentialing and just make the business function faster.
Things are moving, there's product flowing, there's customers flowing.
Yeah. Customers, I think, is the most important thing, right? When you have like brand worship or brand loyalty and there's nothing happening, like they haven't even developed a brand, you're like, oh, I know how to do this. Like I know how to fix this. So yeah, it's exciting. It makes me want to sell the studio. Just kidding. Just kidding. I love it. I love all my kids. What would you, if you could give yourself one piece of advice, go back to your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
Entrepreneurial advice or just advice?
Either, both.
That's so hard. That is such a hard question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I think I made the joke earlier, just hold on tight, bro.
I know, right? Isn't it so crazy? And I think and it gets easier. Hold on tight and it's going to get easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't, yes, there was turmoil. Yes, there was times where I wanted to light the match or I wanted to, throw that employee off a building or whatever, right? Yeah. But
throw that employee off a building.
But in the end, it was still fun. There was still enjoyment, just because you had a few bad years or months.
You survived.
No, I'm kidding. A couple days.
Bad years. It was exciting. That's for sure.
It was exciting.
It's a thrill.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's hard to think about doing that all over again at this age. Don't get me wrong. At 25, 26 years old, you have a little more spunk and drive.
Yeah, but at 40, you do things more, you don't have the energy, so you do it smarter. Yeah. You don't work so hard, you work smarter.
Yep.
And the tools that you've developed just make you go to the right answer now. You don't got to try for years.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny hearing even sometimes from my staff, they would feel like the world's burning down. We have this issue or that issue, right? And I'd just be like, yeah, okay, well, here, come on, guys, let's sit in my office for a minute. Let's figure this out, right? And I've seen a few people say to me I don't know how you're so calm right now. I'm like, oh, hey, 7, 8, 10 years ago, I'd be kicking holes in doors or something.
I'd be ballistic right now. Yeah,
I'd be losing my mind. I've learned to deal with problems and stuff of this magnitude,
and to manage your own stress.
Yeah, and manage. Yeah, you have to learn to manage your emotions. I think that's one of the big things that can either kind of sink you, because even from an employee standpoint, if you can't control your emotions when something happens and you lash out or whatever the case may be, it's just not going to work. People,
can you cry yourself to sleep at night?
Yeah, I'm sure. In a dark corner somewhere no one can see.
Can you sit in the fetal position and just shake until you fall asleep?
Yeah, that's
perfect. Easy. Okay, good. We're good. All right, and any advice for people getting into the game, for entrepreneurs? I mean, not your young self, but people that want in, because they want it and they want it handed down to them. Let me tell you.
Well, yeah. I mean,
They want to inherit it.
Be ready to do the hard work.
Yeah.
There's the whole talk about like work-life balance, and I think finally there's some truth coming out, and I've seen some different reels and stuff over the last, I don't know, maybe a couple months, but more and more people saying like there is no work-life balance. Like,
no,
get a grip. Like if you want to do something at the level, I don't want to say that I did it, but like in my situation, like if I wanted to grow the business as fast as I did, bring on the staff, get the growth, get all the retailers, etc. Like if I wanted to do that, there was no balance. Like,
no,
I was waking up at 4:00 in the morning and going to bed at midnight on nights, or not going to bed. Like, depending on the situation.
Pulling all-nighter, right? And keep working. I
mean, going to trade shows and then, getting into the drinks after and then having to go back the next day. Like, it all sounds fun at the time, but like, you want to, shoot yourself the next day.
Yeah.
But like, there is no balance there.
There's no
like,
balance. I know.
You just have to, find a way to understand what it is that you want at that time, that present time, right? Like, if it's building the business, then that's what you got to do, right? Like, you hope that you have support on the other side, that, can see what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and they can be supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no balance.
No. Yeah. I listened to this podcast called Off Balance on Purpose.
Oh, okay.
And the guy just talks about that. He's like, no, there is no balance. Like, you take it where you can get it, but like it's not going to be perfect. It's not, that's why you don't want a job, because I don't want to show up at 9, clock out at 5 and go home and do my own
that's
thing.
It. Yeah.
I'm hungry. Yeah. I'm passionate, and I'm obsessed, you know?
And I'm sure, you've seen it as well as I have, where like, you're in business and you're dealing with somebody else in business where, they kind of take that, well, I'm going to have balance in my life. And then like they're a vendor of yours, or they're maybe a friend with a business that you want to, work with, but all of a sudden you need something and they're like, oh, sorry, I'm on vacation this week and I'm gone. And it's like, well, dude, I need this now because I'm trying to move my shit forward.
Yeah.
Right. And then you go like, well, you can't come and complain. There's always those people that are like, oh, well, I wish
you didn't call me,
had more revenue, or I wish, and it's like, well, no, man, like
you missed the opportunity. You were on
like
vacation.
I was calling, so
you're busy.
So like you have to choose. Like you have to know like how hard do you want to hit it? Like, are you okay with growing
mediocre,
a couple, say a couple percent a year, right? Like, you're not going to get huge growth. And I mean, not all industries are going to get 100% growth year over year. But I mean,
if you hustle,
who's to say like that's not possible, right? Like, it really just depends on how you want to move it forward.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're good with 5-10% growth, every couple of years or whatever, then like, all the power to you. Like that's I guess that's the wonderful thing about being in business. Like it's ultimately your business, it's your choice. You get to do what you want with it. Right. You just don't get to complain when people don't want to come to your business.
I was just watching a seminar today. It was from Natalie Watson. She's like a big business consultant. She's a big business consultant and she consults like, small businesses, and she goes, if one more person talks about burnout, she's like, I'm going to kill them. What are you, a fucking candle? You can't burn out. You're human. You can just keep going. Look at people in the military, and you're complaining you have to be on your computer for 12 hours. Go harder.
Mm-hmm.
I was loving it. I was like, you're right. I'm not a candle. I can't burn out.
No, and I mean, part of it too. I mean, and it's hard, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I was perfect. I had my days, but like, it's how you feel yourself too, right? Like, I mean, if you're heading to do the McDonald's drive-through 3 times a day, and don't get me wrong, like there was days where, we're eating out a lot, in the beginning,
you're so busy,
but like,
right?
You're so busy, but for me, like how I
keep going,
and how I put the fuel in my body, it was also part of it too, right? Like, you can't can't run on fumes. Like,
yeah. And if you're
In a way,
healthier,
right?
it's amazing like how much more your body can do
yeah,
once
you're
you
gonna have
like
the energy.
yeah,
to
once
be
you
able to get through
implement like
things.
exercise and nutrition. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. This has been so good.
Yes,
I
thanks for
can't
having
wait to
me.
listen to it
It's been
back.
fun.
So much good stuff. Yeah, we'll have to have you back. And yeah,
sure.
thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, right on.
Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, and you'll never miss a podcast.
Good night.